Welcome to Watkins Glen International, and welcome to Road to Indy TV. My name is Tony Laporte, your host of Road to Indy TV, and we are getting ready to kick things off down here on pit lane for the 12th and final round of the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Quickly, we're going to talk to our two championship contenders. Starting in the 5th position after receiving a 2-grid position penalty following qualifying, Anthony Martin, 8 points back in the championship battle. Anthony, coming from Australia, rain racing. Is it your style? Can you make something up and score the championship today?
Yeah, anything's possible. It's never over until the fat lady sings. So obviously starting from 5th isn't ideal, but for sure I love the wet, and I'm really looking forward to the race. We haven't had one all year, so it's good to finally get one.
All right, Anthony Martin, best of luck. Have fun. We're going to move quickly up here to the head of the grid where we have our pole sitter and our championship point leader. Again, 8 markers separates the number 8 car of Anthony Martin and the number 23 from Uncos Racing of Victor Franzoni. The young Brazilian didn't know if he'd even have the budget to finish the entire season in USF 2000. He now finds himself in Pro Mazda. Victor, a phenomenal race yesterday. You scored the win. You have one race to go until you're the champion. And in Indy Lights next year, what kind of pressure are you feeling down here at the head of the grid?
I'm trying to keep no pressure on me. It's one more race that I have to do. It's in the wet. In the quali yesterday, I had a really good car again. Juncos Racing, they gave me a really good car that I could trust whole year and could be relaxed whole race. So I'll do the same. Focus on the line, focus on the 40 minutes of race, try to do my best, and check after checkered flag what happened.
All right, again, that's Victor Franzoni. 8 points separate the championship contenders. Franzoni leads the fight in the number 23, but 4 positions behind him is the reigning USF 2000 champion. For Cape Motorsports, Anthony Martin. Folks, get ready. It's the 12th and final round of Pro Mazda racing this season, and in the next 40 minutes, we're going to crown ourselves a champion.
Engines firing down here on pit lane. We are about set to go. The final race for this Pro Mazda, this particular chassis. Final race for the Mazda Rotary Renesis Power Plant. Michael Young, we are set for a battle here. It's a rain race to crown the champion in Pro Mazda.
Thank you, Rob Howden, getting ready to go. The field of 10 about to go to turn number 1, get that grid out onto this racing surface. Before we get things underway, we'll take a quick break. We'll rejoin the field, and we'll tell you a little bit about what you're about to see, the championship run for the Pro Mazda Series coming up next.
Pro Mazda, the second step on the Mazda road to Indy, sees speeds rising, rivalries developing, and the competition intensifying. Win the championship and its Mazda scholarship to take to the next challenge of taming Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires.
And the field is rolling. A wet race, and what a way to finish up this 2017 campaign. The field of 10. One incident yesterday. Robert McGinnis lost the car coming up the hill in turn number 9, collected his teammate, Nikita Listoshkin. Nikita, just an innocent bystander. He will start 3rd this morning. So again, running down the starting lineup, Victor Franzoni, Carlos Cunha. They are on the front row. Then it's Nikita Listoshkin, Chris Wright in row 2. Championship contender Anthony Martin. He will need to win this race or hope for problems from Victor Franzoni. We'll start on the inside of row number 3. Stingray Robb on the outside. Then it's Matt Machiko and Jeff Green. In row number 4, Bobby Eberle and TJ Fisher round out the field of 10. They will need to tiptoe around this 11-turn circuit. First lap or 2, but as you can see, and you race fans gathered around this beautiful Watkins Glen International Racetrack, it is a wet morning. So never have we run in the wet so far this weekend for these Pro Mazda cars. Victor Franzoni and Carlos Cunha will bring them down. The championship race right now, the championship point spread 8 points. Victor Franzoni over Anthony Martin. Franzoni hoping to bring home the crown, the nearly $800,000 championship scholarship. He and Anthony Martin battling right now, and once we go green, that championship point spread will change to 22 points. They will do a double file start as they come down to take the green flag. Franzoni, Cunha on the front row. Again, Listoshkin right, Martin Robb, Machiko green, then Eberle and Fisher round out our 10-car field. Just made it through the bus stop. Now they cruise out of turn number 6, entering the chute and down into the boot. Again, it will be a double file start, and they will tiptoe through turn number 1. If a car goes off and makes an advancement, they will have to give that spot back. And as you heard Anthony Martin say at the top of the show, looking forward to running in the wet, loves running in the rain. The Cooper Tire wets on all 10 of these machines. The field now down to the toe of the boot. We will see the pace car peel off, and what a beautiful shot coming out of the toe. So they make their way out of the toe now, the field rolling into the heel. We will see the pace car pull off the track at the top of the hill. And our championship points leader, Victor Franzoni, will bring the field down to the front straightaway. The final race of this 2017 campaign for the Pro Mazda Series. And fingers crossed we can get this field of 10 through cleanly. Again on the wet tires, a wet race. The rain overnight. A few sprinkles this morning. And these drivers will be put to the test for this final race of the season, the championship run. Franzoni on the outside in that purple machine, the Juncos Racing entry. Carlos Cunha on the outside in that yellow Team Pelfrey colors. Good lineup of these cars as they make their way through the final turn. Through turn number 11 they come, and the season finale about to get underway. Who will be the 2017 Pro Mazda Championship? Who will win it? We will find out. Green flag is out. Let him go. Franzoni with a great jump down into turn number 1. Anthony Martin takes a look to the outside, trying to get around Nikita Listoshkin. Into turn number 1 they go. Anthony Martin already up to that 3rd position. Field cleanly through turn number 1. Now they get to turn number 2. Boy, you see the spray. A really difficult situation for these drivers trying to get through those rooster tails and see. But Anthony Martin with a great start, already up to that 3rd position. Carlos Cunha 2nd. Victor Franzoni, the points leader, is in the lead. Field now through turn number 4, that long stretch down to the bus stop. There's Franzoni, there's Cunha, and then Anthony Martin. And for Anthony Martin, really needed that good jump to get around a couple of cars at the start of this race and try to attack. His only opportunity to win this championship is to win the race today. As you can see, Franzoni with about a 10-car length advantage over Carlos Cunha. Then it's Anthony Martin, another 10 car lengths back. We will find out who our 2017 Pro Mazda champion will be. And you see Anthony Martin now starting to close in onto the rear wing of Carlos Cunha. Through the toe they come. Victor Franzoni with a commanding lead. Breaks early into the heel of the boot. There you see those rooster tails. First time by under green. Anthony Martin now starting to attack on Carlos Cunha. Down to 3 car lengths. Down to 3 car lengths for Anthony Martin. Trying to take over that 2nd place position. Up the hill they go into turn number 9. Anthony Martin on the attack. He and Carlos Cunha battling now into turn number 10. A great run for Carlos Cunha getting out started there, and Anthony Martin coming from that 5th to 3rd position. That battle for 2nd continues into turn number 11, and Rob Howden joins us at the public address booth. For Anthony Martin, needed a good spot, picked up 2 spots right out of the gate. Victor Franzoni has checked out, already has a 2.5-second advantage, but for Anthony Martin, needed to get that advantage, get to that 3rd position, which is what he did.
Well, the tough thing right now is the top 3 drivers are going to be 3 of probably the best rain racers in the entire Mazda Road to Indy. A couple of Brazilian drivers who have, grown up running in the wet in karting as they came up through the ranks. They know how to handle the wet weather. Of course, Anthony Martin as well, an excellent driver in this wet weather. So the battle he needs to do now is Anthony Martin's got to go hardcore to try to get by. But, when you're in the slipstream like this, the visibility is so minimal. You can hardly see. Going to be very tough to make the pass going into the bus stop.
Yeah, those. Oh, and a little bobble there from Victor Franzoni into the bus stop. But you talk about those rooster tails, those Cooper tires dissipate that water, and it's just like you can't even see. And for Anthony Martin, tucked right underneath the rear wing of Carlos Cunha, visibility next to none.
We've talked about the fact that this racetrack is all about high commitment corners. Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing higher commitment than trying to run in the rain because you cannot see. You have to be on the throttle. You have no idea where you're going. You're just trying to pick up the rain light, which flashes on the back of every car, and you're pushing as hard as you can. And Martin knows what he's got to do here. He has got to get by Carlos Cunha, but you can see the different racing line as well. I'm not sure if you mentioned that at all. You have to run the outside line. You can't really run the race line because wherever that rubber goes down, once the water hits it, it becomes treacherously slippery. You have to run the outside. It's way out of the racing groove, and that's where you're going to find grip.
Boy, you see Victor Franzoni pushing hard. He wiggled there, braking and the turn number 9 there, or I should say turn number 8 in the heel of the boot, now climbing the hill to turn number 9. And really, Victor Franzoni creeps up the hill there. Really doesn't need to push matters or get out of his comfort level. Again, we're just 2 laps into this race, working lap number 2, I should say, right now. And for Anthony Martin, the pressure is really on him. He has to win this race if he wants to win the championship.
And the crazy thing is the pressure is on everybody because, if we were in a dry race right now, Victor could have maybe jumped out to a 3-second lead, held on, just relaxed, got a good pace. When you're running in the wet, one little mistake and you could be sideways. You could be spinning around and everything could change. So the championship on the line right now, an almost $800,000 scholarship to run Indy Lights in 2018 for both of these drivers, Franzoni or Martin. This is career time.
And they both go way wide at turn number 1.
Both drivers overshooting going into one. Cunha goes off on the far side of the curbing, and Martin even further off, able to come back on. And they're still only about 4 or 5 car lengths apart as they come up through the S's. But, man, you know how tough it is on this racetrack.
Now, the visibility on that, is that one of those situations where it was simply the fact that Carlos Cunha breaks late and Anthony Martin really doesn't know at what point the turn 1 is commit line is, so he just kind of follows Cunha in, the reason maybe he went off?
That's exactly what it is. Again, all your corners, all your turn-in points, everything is based on the driver in front of you. You're trying to pick up some visuals on the peripheral, but it's so hard. You simply cannot see in front of you. If you're watching it on TV right now or on your monitor, on your computer or on your phone, you can see that there's spray, but you're not getting a full feel of it. If you're tucked behind somebody, you're absolutely blind because the water's just hitting your visor on your helmet. You cannot see a thing, and you'll see Martin tucked from left to right, maybe to try to just get a little visual coming in. Every time he's coming to a couple of these corners, he just moved to the inside a little bit just so he can get a pickup, try to maybe get some kind of a visual to know when to turn in.
Well, for Victor Franzoni, already to the heel of the boot, we see behind them the battle for second continues. Carlos Cunha, Anthony Martin. Martin now within a car length of Carlos Cunha. Trying to find a good opportunity to get around him to pass, but as you said, with the visibility next to nothing, it's hard to pick out a spot for Anthony Martin. So in these opening laps of this race, I think it's just trying to find, hey, that's my spot. I'm going to attack next time by, because clearly I think he's quicker than Carlos Cunha. He just can't make a mistake and spin out. Try to pass him as he tries to do it. Turn number 9.
Goes to the inside of turn number 9. Martin's really pushing hard here now. Does he have the job? They're side by side coming into turn number 10 and 11 now. No. So through 11, not quite able to get the job done. I don't think this race is over yet, because even though it's about a 4.5-second lead right now for Victor Franzoni, Martin has been good. Let's see if he tries it coming down into 1 now. And indeed, he will go to the inside. It's going to be an aggressive move to the inside, side by side, almost contact. They both spin. No, Martin goes around. Martin knew he had to make the move. He goes to the inside. He's going to lose another spot potentially as Nikita Listoshkin trying to close up on him. He'll come back across here. He's going to watch himself coming over the painted rumble strips. Wow. That was tough to watch. Anthony Martin knew he had to make a move to the inside of turn number 1, got in there deep. And Michael, you can see as he was on the brakes, the car just kind of started to rotate, slowly rotated, and went all the way around. So Martin's going to fall down, probably not fall down the order. I think still holds on to the position P3, but he is well back. Now, wait, folks, we have a half hour still to go. Remember, an extended race here. Watch him put his head down and push his way forward. He is going to be on the throttle hardcore, trying to work his way back to the front.
Yeah, as you had said, that back end just started to step out to the left and started to lean on Carlos Cunha, did Anthony Martin, and just the back end came around. Did a great job getting the car righted. Now, he's already has this out of his mind. He's got to forget that just happened. He has to get back, attack, and it's tough for these young drivers to go, man, I just threw away a championship. You know that has to be going through his mind. But for Anthony Martin to win this championship, get back on his marks, now he has a clear racetrack ahead of him, attack again, try to catch up to Carlos Cunha.
And this illustrates this could happen to anybody. It could happen to Cunha. It could happen to Franzoni. That's the thing about it right now. These conditions are so tough. It's so slippery out there. One little mistake and you're going to find yourself going around. And that's, for, as you said, for Martin, this is the time just to clear everything out and say, okay, I'm going to start banging out some amazing laps. I know I'm faster than Cunha. I'm going to get back up and see if I can't close and get back to second place again. And maybe something will happen for Franzoni. We'll keep watching that gap between Cunha and Martin to see if he does close up here. This will set things here the first time by the stripe since the spin. But again, Franzoni with the lead. Pretty solid one right now over Carlos Cunha as he'll roll across the line here now. The gap between first and second has steadily grown over 7 seconds now, 7.07 seconds. The lead for Victor Franzoni. Martin back by a further 5 seconds, so he will have to turn things up to get himself forward again. 12 seconds behind the leader. Franzoni with the championship in his hands right now, and you can be sure, Michael, that they're on the radio telling him exactly what happened to Martin, that he spun. They're going to give him the gaps. This is what you've got. Maintain your pace. Stay out of trouble.
The Russian Nikita Listoshkin running fourth, and he was right on the rear wing of Anthony Martin after the spin. Martin's already gapped at about 5 seconds, probably 7 seconds right now. Nikita Listoshkin yesterday, a scary moment, our only caution yesterday. Robert McGinnis coming up the hill in turn number 9 lost it, and Listoshkin had nowhere to go. He's lucky it wasn't any worse than what it was because he was full song coming up out of that turn, and all he saw was Robert McGinnis in front of him.
I just saw the video this morning, and wow. Again, out of the boot, turn number 9, you crest over the hill. It's kind of an off-camber corner, and the car just wants to roll out to the Armco barriers, and McGinnis just got a little too wide. Of course, everybody's full throttle. You're pinned down, and just a little touch of the wall. McGinnis kind of spun around sideways, and bam. There was just absolutely nothing Nikita could have done, and you're right. That wreck could have been a lot worse. It's actually, I hate to say it's a cool story because it costs a lot of money, but McGinnis, when he came around, the contact was made. The damage actually was to Listoshkin's car. So Listoshkin's actually driving the car that McGinnis ran yesterday. They just moved the car over to Nikita. Of course, Nikita in the full season championship, and McGinnis a one-off here this weekend.
Franzoni, Cunha, Martin Listoshkin, T.J. Fisher. Nice run for T.J. Already up to that 5th position, starting in the back of the field. Machiko, Rob Wright, Eberle Green, the 10 cars making up this championship run, the final race of the 2017 campaign for this Pro Mazda Series. Victor Franzoni, as it stands right now, a 21-point advantage over Anthony Martin, and he's out there clicking laps and being the lap leader. Add more points there. He's just padding that lead.
Carlos Cunha just turned his fast lap of the race at 2:03.3. That is, I believe, the fast lap of the race. Then Anthony Martin, he goes and turns
Martin
fast lap.
wide again.
Oh, Martin goes, you're right, he does go wide again. He's pushing. 2:02.3 last time by. Now, that's not going to hurt him that much because he kept the speed going around the outside there. But Martin, you can see how much he's pushing. Overcooked it going in there. One thing to watch, it's not raining here right now, and this track, however, of course, recently repaved. It's extremely cold outside still, so this is not going to dry quickly. But it seems like the drivers are starting to pick up some speed here right now. We just watched Martin go 2 seconds faster than Franzoni. 2 seconds faster. He's only 10 seconds back. At that pace, he could catch them in 5 laps. It could get very interesting here, as Martin seems to be the fast driver on the racetrack at this point.
You see these Cooper tires really dissipate that water, but the Rooster Tails not nearly what they were at the start of this race, and those drivers will start looking for lines to keep those Coopers nice and cool. They'll find that water once this track starts to dry off, but I imagine we won't get a dry track by the end of this race. It is extremely damp out there.
It's damp, but it's very cold,
right.
As I said. If it was a little bit warmer, maybe it could heat up a little bit. You can see some of the parts of the racetrack, maybe a little more Rooster Tails, a little more wet as they come through the boot here right now. I'm looking forward to seeing lap times here. Martin, as we said, overcooked it in turn 1 last time by. He cannot do that. If indeed he is the fastest driver on the racetrack, now he needs to keep banging out those laps. But, of course, Franzoni's kind of backed things off a little bit, too. I think he's just being very cautious, making sure he hits all the marks. One of the things about rain racing is you essentially, your entire race is in that right foot. It's all about the throttle. You just got to be very smooth, roll the throttle on. If you stab on it, it's just going to spin those rear wheels and you're going to go around. So really it comes down to drivers being able to modulate the throttle, roll on the speed, be very precise with the steering input. And here they come across the line again. Let's see what Victor does. He does a 2:03.4. 2:03.4 for Franzoni. Cunha a 2:02.7. Martin 2:01.7, another fast lap. Martin 2 seconds faster again. 8.6 back, Michael. That's 4.5 laps.
Boy, and they're all swinging wide. Cunha went wide in one again. Anthony Martin went wide in number. You know, I wonder if nearly they're running out wide like that, trying to pick up some position. They can swing it wide out there as long as they don't pass another car. To slow it down into turn number 1 with the potential of maybe spinning out, maybe he's pushing that hard.
I would tell you right now that I would expect that race control is probably watching this right now, because that's essentially exceeding track limits.
Right.
I know they all do that on occasion when the Cup cars come here. They roll over top of that curbing. That may be the faster way around if you're going to stay on the throttle in kind of a big wide arc right now. We can see how quick he's gone. He's got a faster lap. Both he and Cunha are kind of running out there. I don't know if race control is going to like that too much. That getting word that potentially they are watching it here.
It's accidental, though. It's in the rain.
Yeah.
That's at least what their story will be.
That's what the story will be.
Oh, there's Victor Franzoni, championship leader. Has a 20. Well, that gap closes down just a little bit as he looks to complete the most laps in the lead and pad that lead a little more. It's been an amazing season when you talk about Victor Franzoni, and we started the season wondering if he'd be able to make it to the second round, to the third round. He's like, is he going to make it? And he's getting the call. Here he is, with the contention to be the 2017 champion.
And the thing is, we've watched both Victor Franzoni and Anthony Martin over the last couple of years really learning that racecraft they needed in the USF 2000 series, both race winners. Of course, Anthony Martin winning the championship last year. Franzoni was a winner with Arms Up Motorsports last year on the streets of Toronto. Unbelievably consistent in all of his events last year. Victor has turned into a very consistent driver. Let's watch this real quick. We'll talk more about Victor Franzoni and his unique situation, but with 25 minutes to go, let's watch what these guys do down into turn 1 again. Inside the limit there. See where Cunha goes.
Nope, just lost a little.
Cunha goes a little wide.
Anthony goes.
Martin goes way wide once again.
Boy, look at the ground he picks up, too, when he
does.
swings out that.
A little bit wide coming over that the painted rumbles. Paint and water do not mix, so you usually have to watch out for those rumble strips in the curbing. They get quite slippery. Again, wide goes Martin at 2:01.009. Again, down to 6.3 seconds now, the gap between first and third.
I would imagine if Anthony Martin does that the next time by and Cunha hangs in the inside and doesn't go off, he'll get a warning. If he continues that line, and clearly it's faster because he gained a ton of ground on Carlos Cunha when Carlos tried to hang right on the curbing and Anthony swung wide. So we will keep our eye on that battle there for a second.
Yeah, again, I didn't get a chance to be in the drivers' meeting about this, whether or not they are being sticky in terms of track limits. Really the only part of the racetrack where that can happen.
Right.
Everywhere else is grass or Armco. But there is that big runoff in turn number 1, and as we can see, Anthony Martin has discovered that's a much quicker pace or quicker line to go well around the outside, kind of blow through there, really wide arcing that corner instead of doing essentially with the 90-degree corner down into turn number 1. So, again, the gap down to 6.3 seconds between Franzoni and Martin. Cunha right there in the middle, 4.2 back. But as we go back, being told right now that we got their spotters telling us that there's a couple teams down there not very happy with what's happening here at this point with the number 8 machine.
Well, as far as Anthony's concerned, until he gets a warning, he'll continue to roll out there in turn number 1. So closes in that gap even closer now. Carlos Cunha, Team Pelfrey, Anthony Martin, they're trying to get around him, at least give him an opportunity to win this championship. The only way he's going to do it is get around Cunha.
So getting the update from race control, I'm hearing this will be the last warning for Anthony Martin. They do not want him to continue to run this wide run. So this is the last warning for him to run inside the limit. And there you can see him turning back in. And, yeah, now he's going to stay inside the limit. So he got a couple of laps, did 3 laps blowing through there and doing that wide arc. but they have told him that's enough. Track limits, stay inside the curbing. So at this point, he's come back 5.8 seconds now, 2:02.5 his fast lap last time by. Now he's going to have to start chipping away at it. 5.8 seconds back, and we have about 23 minutes still to go in this race.
Yeah, I think it was pretty evident when he really closed the gap on Cunha that last lap, and I think he gained about 10, 15 car lengths there, at least a second or so, that race control was going to put the kibosh on that.
I'm going to say this right now. Kudos to Anthony
Yeah,
Martin. He went out there.
Right.
He went out there, tried it, and it worked. And you know what? You got to. What's the whole thing about? You don't ask for permission.
Yeah.
Beg for forgiveness.
Exactly right.
So I think that's a great call. You found that he explored the limits of the racetrack and where the grip was. He was able to get out there, put the power down, and it really, once he got turned, it really kind of straightened up that run up through the S's as well.
He also found the limit of race control. He pushed that limit as well. So he's learned a lot out there this morning.
And again, Anthony Martin, as we all know, guys, essentially fighting for his racing career. Both he and Franzoni. Well storied that these drivers don't come from heavily financed families. They've got where they've gotten to simply based on pure talent, pure passion, and a drive to win. But we've seen both of these drivers work their way through USF 2000. We've talked about how Franzoni was going to start this year in USF 2000. He was going to run for Arms Up Motorsports. He was going to essentially be the guy that was going to help them put the setup book together. He was going to be their guy to get all the notes they needed for that new chassis to help out the rest of the team drivers. Juncos Racing wasn't even going to drive in Pro Mazda. They had shuttled the team. They weren't going to run. Wow, last minute, Jeff Green says he wants to run. He wants to run with Juncos Racing. He wants to have a great teammate. Everything comes together, and it's Jeff Green and Victor Franzoni. 1 week before the start of the season in St. Petersburg, this program comes together. They're on track, and there's Victor with a couple of second-place finishes behind Anthony Martin, who won both races at St. Petersburg. And from there on, championship was on.
You know, it's one of those hats-off moments, too, for Victor Franzoni. Whenever he was given the opportunity to drive, he answered with great results. And it takes a heck of a shoe to be able to do that, to be thrown in a situation you're not really comfortable in. Here you go. He hops in and he gets results, result after result. And Anthony Martin's just had a couple of hiccups throughout the season, but all in all, it's just been an amazing season for the USF 2000 champion of last year as well. And whoever wins this champion, whether it be Victor Franzoni or Anthony Martin, both of those drivers, I think we will see continue down this Mazda Road to Indy path.
The reputation for both of these drivers in the paddock is unbelievably high. Victor, of course, is that guy that comes in, shoestring budget, put him in a car. He's going to win races or he's going to run well for you. And he crashed a little early on as he pushed hard, but he's just matured into such a fantastic driver. If you look at Anthony Martin and his body of work in the Mazda Road to Indy, Rookie of the Year 2 years ago in USF 2000, then the champion, and now here he is, multiple race winner in Pro Mazda, trying to battle it out for the title. This is a guy who does not make mistakes either. Unbelievably impressive. And he's always just top fives. And this year, of course, first or second with that one issue of fourth place at the Indianapolis Grand Prix.
I looked up, and I don't know where it happened, or it might have been in the bus stop, but Anthony Martin lost a lot of ground somewhere. He came through turn number 4, and I don't know if he spun or what happened, but he was right on the rear wing of Carlos Cunha, now about 3 seconds behind.
I hate to see that, but it happens when you're pushing here in these treacherous conditions. Very slippery out there, and you guys got to keep pushing. And I did not see that myself as I was just kind of extolling the resume of young Anthony Martin. But again, as you said, the issue there, he was getting close to the back of Carlos Cunha, but again, has fallen down, as you said. And in fact, the lap of 2:01.3 for Franzoni, 2:04.2. So just a minor issue for Martin. He goes back to 9 seconds. 9 seconds back for Anthony Martin, currently P3. It's got to be tough for a young driver like this. He's pushing. He knows time is winding down. He's trying to win that championship because that really is the key here right now. We're talking about a champion winning an almost $800,000 scholarship. The champion will be in the Indy Lights Series next year, and that's just one step away from the Verizon IndyCar Series. And we've seen it already a couple times, like Spencer Pigot wins the Pro Mazda Championship right into the car, wins Indy Lights. 2 years away from running and winning Pro Mazda, the guys in the Indianapolis 500. That's what can happen with this program, and both these drivers know this is their ticket to potentially getting to the big show.
And Spencer Pigot was in the same situation as
Exactly.
well. Really needed that scholarship money,
Yep.
and it's a unfortunate situation. You'd love to see both of these guys get some of that scholarship money, but Mazda really putting that incentive out there and giving that nearly $800,000 to continue these drivers' careers to the next step of that Mazda Road to Indy ladder, of course, that being Indy Lights. But you see what it did for Anthony Martin this year. It gave him that great opportunity from USF 2000 to now Pro Mazda. It's going to be a big year next year for the Pro Mazda Series. Whoever the champion is that moves on, it's still, I think we're going to see a lot of fantastic racing, and just looking forward to that 2018 season.
I know everybody in the paddock, whoever wins, whether it's Franzoni or Martin winning the championship, everyone in the paddock wants to see that runner-up come back, whether it's come back to Pro Mazda for another year, which would be a good step, or somehow find their way into the Indy Lights program. You know, one thing we haven't quite talked about yet is we're just down to about 17 and a half minutes remaining. This is it for this race car, this engine.
Yep.
This is the Elan-built Pro Formula Mazda car that debuted, I believe, in 2004. Brought it out in what was then the Star Mazda Championship. So this car has been around for, 13 years as really this benchmark middle section. This is the rotary engine for Mazda, the Renesas power plant, the rotary, which of course is something Mazda was always known for, the rotary power plants. And we've had that beautiful exhaust note for the last 13 years. Definitely a different sound out of the exhaust of these rotaries. But this will be the last race, at least within the Mazda Road to Indy for this particular formula. These cars are eligible to run in SCCA. They also run in a couple other series around the country. But within the Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, this is essentially the swan song for this particular chassis and engine combination. Brand new car next year, the Tatis-built PM18, the same base chassis as the USF 2000 car, but of course we'll put bigger tires, more aerodynamics, and a heftier engine. It will be a 280 horsepower Mazda MZR 2-liter power plant built by our good friends at Elite Engines. Steve and Logan Knapp do such a great job, and what they've done with the USF 2000 program, they're now going to bring to Pro Mazda as well. So it'll be essentially a new generation of race cars when we get back in 2018.
But the key there is, especially for our team owners that buy into the USF 2000 program and begin their run as a team, they can take that same tub and run the Pro Mazda if they decide to move up. And it can take that same car. You just bolt different pieces on it, put in a different, more powerful engine. But everything else is the same. And that formula, I think, will really lend itself to all these owners in the USF 2000 series. Boy, do I want to take a chance to go to Pro Mazda? Well, now you can, because you're not really buying a complete new car.
And the same goes if parents have their kid coming into racing as well. And maybe we're going to buy our own car, and that makes it a little easier for the teams as well. They don't have that expenditure for a car. A family can come in and say, okay, we're going to buy a car. We're going to run 2 years of USF 2000. We're going to take the parts off, put the other parts on. We're going to go Pro Mazda racing. We'll own our own race car, and I think you're going to see that happen as well.
So Victor Franzoni with a 6-second advantage over Carlos Cunha. Anthony Martin chasing down Franzoni. Those are the two drivers that are battling for this 2017 championship and that scholarship money from Mazda. The gap 6 seconds for Cunha. Anthony Martin now 4 seconds behind Cunha.
Franzoni going by his teammate Jeff Green. So we're into lapping some cars right now. Let's give you the full field rundown. Franzoni, Cunha, and Martin. We've talked about them throughout the race here. Nikita Listoshkin now runs in 4th ahead of his teammate TJ Fisher, who started 10th, has worked his way up to 5th. Matt Machiko now running in the 6th position. 7th is Stingray Robb. 8th is Chris Wright. 9th is Bobby Eberle. And 10th is Jeff Green. Great experience for all of these drivers to get an opportunity to race here in the rain. And when we talk about developing young drivers through this Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, rain racing is one of those skill sets they need to learn. Obviously, there's the potential that we're going to have rain for the event, the IndyCar event. I know a number of the IndyCar drivers were kind of wringing their hands like, yeah, bring on the rain. I'd like to try to have a rain race. But it's a skill set you need, and it's not one you can plan for. It's not like it starts to rain, you go, hey, let's take the car out and test somewhere. You have to plan test weeks in advance, hotel rooms, whatever it may be, renting a track. If it rains, you're lucky. If it doesn't, you're just testing in the dry. So it's not something these guys can really prepare for easily. So anytime we have a rain race, it's very valuable for these young drivers and their skill set.
It's been really interesting watching these Cooper Tires throughout this entire Pro Mazda race, how it's dissipating that water. You can see a dry line starting to actually form up the hill from out of the heel of the boot to turn number 9. I notice the bus stop is nearly dry. It's the straightaways that you really still see a lot of those rooster tails kicking off those Cooper Tires. But other than that, they've done a great job drying this track out.
Waiting for times to continue to fall, because if it does continue to dry, we're going to probably get down into the flats 2 flats, maybe even a 159. It's not drying overly quickly, but as Michael said, there are areas that definitely don't have the same rooster tails that we saw. Temperatures, of course, slowly starting to come up here. We're not expecting a very warm day. And again, Franzoni holding on to that gap over Carlos Cunha. 6.7 seconds. Martin back by 10.6 seconds as both of those drivers almost a second off of Franzoni as he gets down to the flats. 2 minutes, 0.805. The fast lap there for Victor Franzoni. You know, I know we've got people listening in and watching this live broadcast from Brazil. We've got them listening and watching from Australia as well. Of course, the Brazilians cheering for Franzoni, the Aussies cheering for their boy Anthony Martin. It's been a fantastic championship, back and forth on race wins. Victor getting the win at Gateway Motorsports Park. Of course, Martin is one of those guys that really has Mid-Ohio figured out. He won 2 of the 3 races. But as it stands now, it would be a 19-point championship win for Franzoni. He's in a position to get the job done at this point. Martin pushed it, though. It was exciting to watch him test the track limits and find some speed. He was definitely closing up, got down to within 6 seconds of Franzoni. But, of course, race control was not pleased with the overusage of the runoff area in turn number 1. And there's Franzoni working his way up. Impressive run for this young Brazilian.
Haven't had a lot of opportunity to spend any time with Victor Franzoni, but we did have a few opportunities throughout this 2017 season to spend time with Anthony Martin. He joined us in the public address booth at Toronto and Barber Motorsports Park. Just a fantastic young man, and it was really enjoyable to see that youthful enthusiasm that he brings with him. It's just at Toronto and the race we had there in the USF 2000 series, he was just excited beyond all means. I mean, we saw some great racing.
You know what? And he brought a lot of insight as well.
He did.
You know, and I was really impressed with his articulate answers. He was able to kind of really give us a good feel for what's happening behind the wheel. Little wiggle down there in turn number 1 for Bobby Eberle as he'll be the next target for Victor Franzoni. Franzoni down into turn number 1 himself. Even with, 11 and a half minutes remaining, we have to reiterate that at every corner, any braking zone, there is a potential for an issue with any one of these drivers. So while Franzoni has a nice lead of 6.3 seconds, one minor miscue gets up on the curbing, gets into the over top of the rumbles in any one of these corners, and you got to watch out. That car could swap ends, and this entire championship could change. So as we're working our way to that last 10 minutes of the 2017 Pro Mazda season, the last 10 minutes of seeing these particular cars as well. This Elan-built Pro Formula Mazda, the rotary Renesas Mazda power plant, last race for this particular package. Anything can happen, Michael, and that's the key. We don't know what's going to happen here. 10 minutes to go.
We're watching Victor Franzoni, those lines starting to change down those long straightaways out of 4 down to the bus stop in 5. Really hung it low on the inside of the track, trying to keep those Cooper tires nice and wet, keep them as cool as he can. But as you said, a lap of 2 minutes. The lap prior, Carlos Cunha answers back with a lap of 2 minutes, 0.9363. Anthony Martin still at about a 2 minute, 1 second lap. Same with Franzoni, 1:33.32 last time by.
We've had the spotlight on Franzoni and Martin throughout the entire year as we watch Bobby Eberle at the Title Boxing Gym, number 13, working his way around the track. Bobby coming to the top of the hill there, out of the boot through turn number 9. But we've watched Franzoni and Martin throughout the season. They've been winning races. An impressive driver for me, Carlos Cunha. Obviously a great team at Team Pelfrey with Lastowskin and Fisher, but Carlos has kind of stepped up to kind of take over the lead in terms of the results for that team. He's had a number of podium finishes, was on the podium at Mid-Ohio, was on the podium at Gateway Motorsports Park, looking to get a second-place run here today. He's really been, I think, one of the drivers who has really turned up. If there's a kid I really want to see back in Pro Mazda next year, it's Carlos Cunha. A blast to have in the paddock. We did one of the kids on track tours with some big sisters and big brothers when we were at Gateway from St. Louis, and we visited with the Team Pelfrey crew, and all 3 of those guys, Nikita, TJ, and Carlos, were just fantastic with the kids, and Carlos was just having a blast, signing T-shirts, signing hats. Exciting to watch. Now, we do still have more really good wheel-to-wheel racing. They're picking up on one here right now. This is Matt Machiko in the number 3 versus the 14 of Stingray Rob. Stingray's getting aggressive on him here, Michael.
Down to the heel of the boot goes Stingray Rob, and he will make that pass around Matt Machiko. He's been stopped. Well, he won't do
not
it yet.
yet.
Not yet. He really had to woe it down to the heel. I thought he was going to get around, carry that speed. He really woed up.
Remember, the key is you're talking about that dry line kind of developing a little bit. When you go to the inside, it's not dry anymore. Right. It's still pretty wet on the inside. So that's when a driver has to get in and kind of feel that and get and test that a little bit. So let's see if Stingray keeps going. He may get the pass done next time back around, having felt what the grip level was on the inside of that corner. Because he threw it in there pretty good. We thought the pass was going to get done, but no, I think he jumped on the brakes and said, "Oh, I may end up sliding right through here."
We'll watch him down into 1 as they come out of turn number 11. About a 3-car length advantage for Matt Machiko as Stingray Rob starts to look to the inside. Probably not the spot to make that pass, but we'll see if he can set him up next time down through the boot, and the heel was where he tried to make that last pass. But he's right all over that rear wing. That's a good battle out there.
Yeah, Matt was to the far left coming into turn number 1, the braking zone, almost like he got on the paint on the left side. He went way far to the left, I think, to make sure he got a better run through turn number 1. And Stingray kind of hung to the inside a little bit because, again, as I say, you cannot make mistakes. The paint, absolutely zero grip. So if you're on something like the rumbles or that runoff curbing, especially when you're coming through the bus stop here, you get on that curbing, and the car can swap ends quickly. Here comes Stingray Rob to the inside of the bus stop, crisscrossing inside, outside. Look at this battle, Michael.
Oh, man. He nearly had that back end step out. Stingray Rob still all over that rear wing of Matt Machiko. This is the battle for 6th position, 7 minutes remaining in our Pro Mazda Championship race. Stingray Rob now going down through the chute. We'll look to the outside. And now down to the toe. Stingray Rob to the outside. If he can hold it, he'll have position going down to the toe.
An incredible run here for Stingray Rob. Does he get it done? I think indeed he has. Stingray Rob, book it. He's by. Stingray goes to P6. What a fantastic battle. He just was not going to give it up. Went around the outside, coming down into the boot. You never know where the grip level is going to be. If that's not the line you run for the majority of the race, you're not quite sure how much grip is out there. He gets the job done, though, before he gets back around to the heel, and indeed Stingray Rob into the 6th position.
There really was no textbook about Stingray there. He was just going to pass no matter where it was. He was going to get around Machiko. Exactly.
That was seat of the pants.
Yes, it was.
Not a textbook move. That was awesome. So a little action here with about 6.5 minutes remaining as Stingray Rob working his way back forward. He doesn't have that. They're nowhere close to TJ Fisher. They're battling amongst themselves for that 6th spot. But again, Stingray does a great job. Here comes Victor Franzoni through the toe of the boot with 6 to go. What goes through your mind now? 6 minutes remaining. I'll tell you what's probably happening. You're going to have that calming voice of Ricardo Juncos, who has won championships in Pro Mazda before, Indy Lights. He'll be on the radio with Victor, just giving him splits. You're still, +5, hit your marks, just that nice calming voice. So Victor keeps doing what he's doing.
And he's done that this entire race. He had about a 3-car length advantage over Cunha as they went down into turn number 1. We went for a double final start. There you see a little wiggle there. But it was a great start for Victor Franzoni, and then he started to check out and just got into the zone. We saw Anthony Martin really push, had that spin, then was warned about swinging too wide into turn number 1. And for Anthony Martin, I think the exact opposite. I think although he's still pushing, realizing that this championship has pretty much slipped away.
He's got to do what he can do. Just keep hitting your marks and hope for something to happen to Franzoni. Really, that's the only opportunity. One thing we are going to get here, including a new champion, is that it'll be the first time ever that a team has won 2 titles in the Mazda Road Indy. It was either going to be Cape Motorsports, because they've already won the title in USF 2000 with Oliver Askew. They did that yesterday. Uncos Racing has won the title with Kyle Kaiser. He's got that title locked now. So for the first time ever in the 7 years of this program, we're actually going to have a team win 2 championships in the Mazda Road Indy. Here's a battle coming through here. That's actually Anthony Martin going around the outside of Bobby Eberle coming up through the S's.
And Anthony Martin just keeping it clean. There we see Carlos Cunha. Here comes Anthony Martin, the lapped car of Bobby Eberle. Martin still pushing, but time down to 4 minutes, and we will crown a champion in this 2017 Pro Mazda campaign. Looks to be Victor Franzoni. He has to hang on for 4 minutes longer.
Victor Franzoni is close to securing a seat in the Indy Lights program for 2018. I'll tell you, here's a young kid, as I said. He is well-liked in the paddock, and his reputation, the understanding of the talent that he brings to the table. Such a great personality as well. He's going to be fantastic at Indy Lights if he can indeed lock it in here. But this is a guy that a lot of people have looked at and said, man, he needs to be an IndyCar. And you could see it because it was the people that came to him, helped him out to make sure he was going to run USF 2000. I don't think any year he ever had a program locked and loaded. It was always, well, we think Victor might be in this car, or, I don't know, let's see who's going to help him out. And he ended up hooking up with the guys from Arms Up Motorsports and really helping to raise their game as well. Won a race, their first ever Road to Indy race win last year in Toronto on the streets. Great win for the Borlands and John Walco to be able to win that race. And they understand and they recognize the talent that Victor Franzoni has.
And I think that's one of those situations in the races that I've joined you, and we've called these many USF 2000 races, these Pro Mazda races. Every time we mentioned Victor Franzoni, it was always, he doesn't have the funding. He barely got this ride this weekend. Can't believe he got a seat in the car, and every time that happened, he would finish up in the top, either winning or finishing on the podium. He always does an amazing job, and no matter what the circumstance.
And we interviewed him when we had all our championship contenders in the media room earlier this weekend. He even said, earlier in my career, I crashed. I drove over the limit of the race car. I pushed too hard. That's what I've learned over the last 3 years running here in USF 2000. And now, of course, into Pro Mazda, he's just developed that consistency. There's that raw speed, that raw talent, and it's just sometimes tough to harness that, especially when you're young. You're a 17, 18-year-old kid. You want to come in here and make a splash. You're trying to make sure people know that you're good. You're trying to get people to turn their heads. And he's done that, but he had little mistakes here and there kept him out of championship battles. This has been a fantastic season. He's been first or second in every race this year. That's tremendous.
And one of those situations, I think, just with that goes along with, being a young driver. You know your opportunities are very limited, so you push, and then you realize I've got to just keep it in my comfort zone. I am a great driver. I just need to show everybody and not go over those limits. I think we've seen that throughout with several drivers. I can name 3 or 4 just off the top of my head. Santi Urrutia, one of those guys who would push, and then it'd either be he'd win or he'd wreck, and now he's really found a nice zone as well.
And that all comes from that almost desperation. You think you have to win races. Right. I got to win this championship or I'm done. Santi Urrutia was able to win in Pro Mazda 3 years ago with Team Pelfrey, and he was super consistent that year. Yep. But then when he got to lights, it was just that feeling of I've got to win. White flag now flying. 1 minute and 15 to go. Final lap of the 2017 season for the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Final lap for this race car. Final lap here on the Mazda Road to Indy as well for the rotary Mazda Renesis power plant. And it could be the final lap here in Pro Mazda as well for the Brazilian Victor Franzoni. 3.1 seconds ahead of Carlos Cunha. Franzoni just has to keep it on the racetrack this final lap to win this championship. And it would put him in Indy Lights in 2018. I think if you would have told Victor about this a couple of years ago, he would not have believed it. A great family. They race back home in Brazil as well. He and his father built a Brazilian stock car that they run. Mom's here as well this weekend. A big one here for the Franzoni family. Again, not well-heeled enough to get him to where he needs to be. It's all about scholarships and people stepping up to help this very talented young Brazilian driver. And he is now just a half a lap away, Michael, from scoring this championship.
What an amazing season this has been for Victor Franzoni. Now I'm already past this championship, looking forward to next year. Yeah. What is this kid going to do in an Indy Lights car? He's just one of those rare talents, and not taking anything away from Anthony Martin, because Anthony gave him everything that he wanted. But Victor Franzoni earned this championship. He drove this championship, and I think we're going to see a future star in Victor Franzoni.
The guy runs for Uncos Racing. They've already won a championship in Indy Lights. They're going to replace Kyle Kaiser potentially with Victor Franzoni alongside Nico DePero. What a pairing that will be, because DePero, in my mind, is one of the most improved drivers this year in Indy Lights. Coming out of the boot through turn number 9. It's 10 and 11. That's all that's left. What a season it's been, as Michael had said, either first or second in every race this year. The Brazilian Victor Franzoni negotiating the final corners here at Watkins Glen. We have one champion already in Oliver Askew. We will confirm our second. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2017 Pro Mazda Championship from Brazil, Victor Franzoni. Franzoni, your winner by 1.5 seconds from Carlos Cunha. Tough one for Anthony Martin as he does everything he can. Ends up in the 3rd position. 11 seconds back. Martin threw it all on the table, but ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic run. Victor Franzoni with the win in the championship. Carlos Cunha drops a 1:59.8 in the last lap, fast lap of the race. But Michael, as I head down to victory lane, you can talk all about Victor Franzoni. What a tremendous young driver in that number 23 machine. He and Uncos Racing getting the job done. Victor, I've had a chance to watch you race karts and USF 2000, everything. First and foremost, what are your thoughts right now? You are the Pro Mazda champion.
I don't know what I'm thinking now. So many things. It's like the past, it's the future, it's the present, so many things that's in my head now. But I just would like to thank so much Juncos Racing for the opportunity that they gave me and how much they taught me and how much we enjoyed the time together. I'd like to thank a lot Mazda, Cooper Tires, and Anderson Promotion, because they're not giving a prize money, they are giving a hope. And I don't have words.
You have your mom and dad here as well. How special was that?
Oh, that was really nice, because this is the first time my mom comes for a race in US, and they came together. So it's really, really awesome. It's good to have them in my side in this. I knew I would need them in any of the place, second or first, I would need them. But it was great. It's great to have them here with me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Indy lights next year for this young driver. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. Winner today. Fantastic run for Victor Franzoni.